A meme is an element of a culture, or a system of behavior passed from one individual to another by imitation or other non-genetic means. With that in mind, let's begin. Okay, so what does a crocodile, a bottle of poison, and a football team have in common? If you said
What's your name?
If you said they all use some form of the Jolly Roger in their design, you're right!
Congratulations! 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 Congratulations!
But what comes to mind when you see this logo?
Freedom, prosperity, the adventure of our lives.
Aside from that, rebellion? Brotherhood? Unadulterated badassery? How is it that one logo can communicate so much to people of all ages and transcend generations? Let's find out. When the Jolly Roger is stated as a topic, most people immediately link the iconic skull and crossbones to pirates. While this may be the most well-known reference to the design, it turns out it's far from the oldest. As far back as the time of the Egyptians, important pharaohs were buried holding a crook and a flail, important symbols to the Egyptians themselves, but when framing the face of an important person like King Tut, communicated power and authority in death. It's a skull and crossbones. Throughout cultures and societies across the world, the iconic skull and crossbones would be found on graves of important people in Spain, Egypt, and other places. It wouldn't be until the Middle Ages that the icon expanded, taking on the meaning of brotherhood alongside its original message of death. Legend states that the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, the mini-bosses of the Catholic Church, was burned alive by the Pope in 1312 for reasons. When the knights arrived to whisk away the remaining bones of their Grand Master, however, it's said that all they found were a skull and 2 femur bones. The knights proceeded to adopt the logo for the flags of their fleet in honor of their fallen Grandmaster. It would be another 400 years before the icon again surfaced on the open ocean. This time, however, it would truly come into its own as a symbol. The Golden Age of piracy, which occurred during the beginning of the 1700s, was a time highlighted by the prevalence of piracy throughout the Caribbean and the Atlantic Ocean as a whole.
On a wager, I can name 1,000 different sea creatures. Starfish!
It was during this time that the term Jolly Roger was coined. In a book published at the time, The History of Pirates, the encyclopedia referred to a pirate's flag as the Jolly Roger. And first-hand accounts exist of captured or enslaved traders overhearing pirates referring to their flag as such. To a traveling merchant or sailor, an oncoming vessel raising the Jolly Roger meant one thing: death. The pirates themselves saw their Jolly Roger as a symbol of something more. Maybe brotherhood? Maybe a little rebellion? Maybe. As time moved on, the Jolly Roger would fall out of vogue, but still remain in the public conscious. The 1800s saw a revival of the icon, first in the 1830s at Yale University, where a secret society known as the Skull and Bones was formed, using the logo to communicate both their mystique and fraternity. In the 1850s, New York state law decreed that bottles of poison would need to be denoted with the skull and crossbones to communicate their danger. Like unlucky sailors of old, society once again would know and recognize the icon for what it was: death! It seemed that the skull and crossbones had found its place in the world. That was until the 1940s.
America's vast resources are harnessed to the job of being the world arsenal for this and other democracies.
World War II was in full swing, and the Jolly Roger would once again be called upon to instill fear into its opponents and brotherhood into those who stood beneath the icon. Polish and British submarines, Australian ships, US battleplanes, even German SS officers sported the skull and crossbones. By this point, the symbol transcended language so well that either side could see the flag flying across the field and know their opponent meant business. After the war, many US soldiers returned home to find a nation under change. Many would find it difficult to find work or settle into American life. Left out in the cold by a nation who had just years before lauded them as heroes, many of these former soldiers took to the road, forming gangs of motorcyclists, garbed in sunglasses and spiky leather clothing. Many of these road dogs and their road hogs also took on the icon and their logos, one that they would feel represented their brotherhood. To the outsider, these vested vagabonds with their skull and crossbone garb represented a new movement of rebellion in the USA, and yes, even a little death. As the war faded into memory, and the 1900s moved along, the Jolly Roger would be called upon again, this time in sports. The Pittsburgh Pirates and the East Carolina Pirates were already sporting a privateer theme by the time 1975 hit, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers blasted into the football scene, flying the skull and crossbones as their team's logo, embracing a rich history of the area but also communicating to opposing teams. Teamwork? Death? Now representing mystery, death, football, rebellion, motorcycles, brotherhood, freedom, etc. Ideas continued to spread and grow. Popular media brought the Jolly Roger as a concept to the forefront of society's zeitgeist with the Pirates of the Caribbean, launching a new fascination with pirates that brought the icon again into vogue. Through video games, anime, clothing, and music, a new generation was introduced to the Skull and Crossbones logo. The rebels of society became more celebrated rather than ostracized. The Jolly Roger became romanticized, and throughout the world, the icon that at one point meant only death became widely recognized as cool.